I never expected one of the hardest moments in my marriage, one of the biggest tests of my entire adult life, would be tied to diapers, formula, and someone else's crying babies. To be clear, I don't have children. Not yet. My husband, Liam, and I have talked about it. The someday conversations over a bottle of wine. But life has been full enough. Career climbs, saving for a house, just enjoying being us. And lately my life hasn't just been full. It's been overflowing. Overflowing with demands, expectations, and a crushing, suffocating guilt I didn't even know I was capable of carrying. Let me back up. You need the context. My best friend, let's call her M, and I have been inseparable since college. We were the kind of friends who finished each other's sentences, who could communicate with just a look across a crowded room. I was the maid of honor at her wedding. I held her hand when she went through 2 devastating miscarriages. Our friendship wasn't casual. It was foundational. Pillar of my life. So when she told me she was pregnant with twins, I cried tears of pure joy for her. After so much heartbreak, she was finally getting her miracle. 2 of them. And they were miracles. Beautiful, tiny, squirmy little beings who looked impossibly fragile. But these miracles came equipped with lungs like air raid sirens and digestive systems that seemed to run on chaos theory. Their schedules didn't just laugh in the face of sleep. They burned it to the ground and danced on its ashes. And M? She was barely holding it together. Her husband works long, brutal shifts as a freight logistics manager. Sometimes he wouldn't get home until 3 a.m. Her mother-in-law, who might have been the designated helper, was in no shape to do so. A cocktail of health issues and age-related fragility meant she was more of a liability than a help. So it all fell to M. And slowly, insidiously, it also fell to me. I never intended to become her default, unpaid, 24/7 nanny. It started small, as these things always do. I'd stop by on my way home from work to bring her a hot meal, because I knew she was living off granola bars. Then I'd stay to help with bath time, because how do you even bathe 2 slippery newborns by yourself? That evolved into me staying later, folding mountains of tiny laundry while rocking a screaming infant in each arm, just so M could get a precious 20-minute power nap. And then it just became the expectation. My new reality. I was going over there almost every single day. For 2 straight weeks, my life ceased to be my own. My days became a blur of someone else's needs. Feeding. Sterilizing bottles until my hands were raw. Changing diapers, so many diapers. Playing human pacifier, just walking back and forth, shushing and swaying for hours. I became a master at the one-handed burp while the other hand held a bottle for the other twin. I'd get frantic texts with a grocery list scrawled on the back of a diaper box and do a quick run to the store, which was never quick. I cleaned up projectile vomit and explosive blowouts that defied the laws of physics. I picked up dropped pacifiers from the floor 1,000 times a day. I'd be in her kitchen, trying to heat up formula to the exact right temperature while her stressed-out dog barked nonstop at a squirrel outside. I was doing everything short of legally adopting them. And the crazy part? I didn't regret it. Not really. M was my friend, my sister. I couldn't just stand by and watch her drown in the beautiful, terrifying reality of new motherhood. But here's the thing about trying to save someone who's drowning. If you're not careful, they pull you under with them. I was sinking, and I didn't even notice until my own lungs were full of water. I remember the night everything snapped. The night the cracks in my own foundation gave way. I stumbled into my own home, my quiet, peaceful home, and just dropped my bag at the door. I didn't even have the energy to hang up my coat. I collapsed onto the couch like a marionette with its strings cut. My back was a knot of pure agony. My hands, despite countless washes, smelled faintly of sour milk and hospital-grade sanitizer. A migraine was pounding a frantic drum solo behind my eyes. My husband, Liam, bless his heart, took one look at me. He was on his laptop, probably finishing up some work, but he closed it instantly. The look on his face was one of deep, gentle concern. "Hey, you okay?" he asked, his voice soft. I lied. The lie was automatic, a reflex born from years of being the strong friend. "I'm fine. Just tired." But he wasn't buying it. He never does. He knows my tells. He sat next to me on the couch, his arm brushing mine. A simple point of contact that felt like an anchor. His eyes searched mine, and I felt my carefully constructed facade begin to crumble. He was looking for the truth I was too exhausted to even form into words. And I just cracked. It wasn't a sob. It was a whisper. The last bit of air escaping a deflating balloon. "My stomach really hurts," I whispered, the admission feeling like a monumental betrayal of my "I'm fine" persona. "It's been bothering me all day. I think it's the stress." He didn't ask questions. He didn't say, "I told you so," even though he'd been gently hinting for days that I was overdoing it. He just got up. "Lie down. Put your feet up. I'll get you some water and a heating pad. Don't worry about anything. Just rest." I didn't argue. For the first time in what felt like a lifetime, I let someone take care of me. I left my phone on the coffee table, a glowing little brick of potential demands, and drifted off into a restless, pain-filled sleep on the couch. What I didn't know was that while I slept, my phone lit up. Em had called. Not once but twice. Then came the text. She wanted me to come back over. One of the twins had a fever. The other one wouldn't stop crying. She was at her wit's end. She needed me. Again. My husband, seeing my phone buzz incessantly, picked it up. And he did something I hadn't been strong enough to do. For the first time, he said no. Scene shift. The next morning, I woke up feeling groggy, but the sharp pain in my stomach had dulled to a low throb. The house was quiet. Liam was sitting in the armchair, reading a book, a mug of coffee waiting for me. He told me about it then. His tone wasn't defensive or angry. It was just factual. Honest. Em called last night. Couple of times. I answered the second time. I told her you were in a lot of pain and that the doctor... He paused. I told her the doctor said you needed to rest completely for a couple of days. That you couldn't come. I told her it was time for her to call her husband or another family member to step in. I just stared at him, stunned into silence. A part of me felt a jolt of panic. He said, "What? She's going to be so mad. She needed me." But that feeling was quickly overwhelmed by something far more powerful. A wave of profound, bone-deep relief. It was like a 100-pound weight I didn't know I was carrying had been lifted off my chest. I could breathe. I blinked at him, my eyes welling up. "Thank you," I whispered. Because deep down, in a place I was too ashamed to admit, I hadn't known how to say no to her myself. I was so used to saying yes, so conditioned to be the helper, that the word no felt like a foreign object in my mouth. I had been sacrificing myself piece by piece without ever calculating the cost. Later that day, when I finally felt brave enough to look at my phone, I saw the string of messages from Em. Missed calls. Frantic texts. And then the last one, sent after Liam had spoken to her. It was cold and sharp. "You could have just told me yourself. I really needed you." I stared at that message for a long, long time. The guilt was a physical thing clawing at my throat, but underneath it was a flicker of something else. Resentment? No, not quite. It was clarity. I did nothing. I didn't reply. Not because I didn't care, I did desperately, but because I had no idea how to explain that I had nothing left to give. How do you tell your best friend that her crisis had completely hollowed you out? Scene shift. A week of silence later. The attack didn't come directly. It started as a whisper. A text from a mutual friend, Sarah. "Hey, is everything okay with you and Em?" Then a screenshot. My blood ran cold before I even read the words. It was from a group chat I wasn't in. A group chat of our old college friends. Em was venting. "I just don't know what's happened to her. She's basically his puppet now. It's like he controls her. He gets to decide where she can go, who she's allowed to help. It's so creepy. Honestly, she used to be her own person. It's sad to see." I had to read it 3 times. The words swam on the screen. My heart wasn't just pounding. It was trying to batter its way out of my ribcage. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped my phone. Puppet? Controlled? This was what she thought of me? This was the narrative she was spinning? After I had literally sacrificed my own health, pushed my body and mind to their absolute limits to show up for her, this was her version of events? The kindness and protection of my husband were being twisted into a story of patriarchal control. My exhaustion was being reframed as weakness, as a lack of my own will. And then came the twist of the knife that hurt the most. The real searing pain wasn't even the accusation itself. It was the memory, so fresh and raw, of me defending her to Liam just a week prior. I remembered him saying, "Honey, you can't keep this up." And I had argued back. I had told him M just needed support. That I was fine. That I'd bounce back. That it was just a phase and that's what friends do. And here she was, painting me as a spineless doll, and the man who loved me enough to protect me from myself as some kind of tyrant. I confronted Liam that night. I say confronted, but I was a mess. I was crying, shoving the phone in his face, my voice trembling. Look what she's saying. To everyone. For a moment I expected him to get angry, to lash out, to finally say that I told you so, that he was so entitled to say. But he didn't. He took the phone, read the messages, and his face was calm. He looked right at me, his eyes full of a quiet, fierce loyalty that broke me all over again. He said so softly, "I don't care what she says about me, but I care what it does to you." And that's when I truly broke. Not from exhaustion this time, but from the blinding, painful light of clarity. All this time I had been pouring every last drop of myself into someone else's crisis, while quietly unraveling in my own. I had allowed guilt and my deep-seated loyalty to blind me to how utterly depleted I had become. I thought I was helping her, but I was just enabling her dependence on me. I thought I was being a strong friend, but I was just being a scared one, afraid to disappoint, afraid to look selfish, afraid to say the word no. And maybe, just maybe, M saw that weakness in me. She knew she could push and I would give. And it made her furious that someone else finally drew a line in the sand on my behalf. That someone dared to build a wall to protect me when I couldn't do it for myself. Maybe what she really resented wasn't Liam. It was that I finally had someone who protected me. Maybe she was angry that her puppet strings were now being held by someone who valued the puppet more than the show. Closing reflection. I still think about those twins sometimes. I still care about M in a distant, nostalgic way you care about a past life. I wonder how she's managing now. I genuinely hope she's okay. But I haven't gone back. The silence between us is now a vast, uncrossable canyon. And maybe I'm not a puppet. Maybe I'm just someone who finally realized. It's not unkind to protect your own peace. It's not controlling for your partner to say enough when they see you suffering. And love, real, true, steadfast love, isn't about how much you can sacrifice until you break. Sometimes it's about who stays by your side to help you pick up the pieces when you've given far too much. I've started going to therapy since then. Not just for the drama with M, but to understand the why. Why I was so quick to pour from an empty cup. Why the word no felt like a declaration of war. I'm learning to build boundaries that aren't walls but healthy fences. I'm learning to sit with the discomfort of someone else's disappointment without letting it dictate my actions. And Liam? He never once threw it in my face. He never said, "See? I was right." Instead, a few weeks ago, when I was agonizing over declining a small request from a coworker, he just held my hand and said, "You are enough. Your time is enough. Your energy is enough. You are enough even when you say no." Would I go back and change how I handled it? Maybe. I could have communicated my limits sooner. I could have stood up for myself instead of letting it get to the breaking point. But I will never ever regret the moment my husband said no for me. Because in that moment he didn't take my voice away. He reminded me I had one. He reminded me of something I had completely forgotten. I deserve care too. And maybe, just maybe, it's not only okay but necessary to let go of the people who only loved you when you were useful to them.